Maybe if you had raised him better, he'd deserve real presents. My mother's words cut through the festive Christmas morning air like ice. I watched my son, Marcus, just 12 years old, trying to hide his tears as he held the broken 5 pounds box. Inside there was nothing but an old phone card and some weights to make it feel real. My name is Deanna Sullivan, and at 35, I thought I had finally escaped my mother's toxic influence on my family. But watching her deliberately crush my son's Christmas dreams made me realize some battles aren't over until you end them completely. It's a life lesson. My mother continued, smoothing her expensive cashmere sweater while shooting a disapproving look at Marcus's Star Wars t-shirt. Gaming is for lazy children. I'm doing him a favor. The way Marcus's shoulders hunched made my heart ache. He had worked so hard this year, straight A's in school, joining the science club, even volunteering at the local animal shelter every weekend. He had been begging for a 5 pounds for months, saving his allowance and making deals to do extra chores. What he didn't know was that I had already bought him one, hidden away for the perfect moment. Come on, Diana, my mother pressed, her voice dripping with fake concern. You know I'm right. Look at how he dresses, those childish shirts, just like his father. The mention of Marcus's dad made my blood boil. Tom had passed away 3 years ago in a car accident, and Marcus's childish Star Wars shirts were the last birthday gift his father had given him. My mother had never approved of Tom, a kindergarten teacher who preferred reading comics with his son over chasing corporate success. He needs discipline, structure, she continued. Not toys and games. I raised you better than this. Better. I almost laughed. My childhood under her better parenting had been a nightmare of impossible expectations, constant criticism, and emotional manipulation. Every achievement met with "you could have done more." Every interest that didn't match her vision dismissed as worthless. Marcus, honey, I said, keeping my voice steady. Why don't you go up to your room for a bit? I need to talk to Grandma. He nodded, clutching the fake 5 pounds box to his chest as he climbed the stairs. The sight made something shift inside me. This wasn't just about a Christmas gift anymore. You've gone too far, I said, turning to face my mother. You deliberately hurt him, your own grandson. She waved her hand dismissively. Please, Diana, you're being dramatic. This is about building character. Besides, I bought him plenty of proper gifts. Look at that lovely calculator set, the educational software. He's 12, Mom. And he's a wonderful kid who deserves to enjoy his childhood. That's your problem, she snapped. You're too soft, just like Tom was. No wonder Marcus is turning out. Don't. My voice was quiet but firm. Don't you dare finish that sentence. She blinked, not used to being interrupted. Excuse me? You know what's interesting, Mom? I said, walking to the closet near our Christmas tree. While you were busy planning how to hurt a child on Christmas morning, I was teaching Marcus something really important about family and trust. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone and played the video I had recorded last week. There was my mother, talking to her friend Susan on speakerphone while getting her nails done at her favorite salon. Of course I'm not getting him a real 5 pounds, her voice rang out clearly. I found an empty box online, going to teach that boy a lesson about proper goals and ambitions. Diana babies him too much. My mother's face went pale. You recorded me? That's private? I finished for her. Like Marcus's feelings should have been. Don't worry, Mom. I've got more interesting recordings. Like the one where you told your bridge club how you were planning to contest Tom's life insurance payout because you didn't think Marcus and I deserved it. She sank into her designer armchair, her perfectly made-up face crumpling slightly. You wouldn't dare show those to anyone. I'm your mother. You're right. I am your daughter, which means I've learned from the best about keeping records and planning ahead. I walked to the stairs and called up, Marcus, honey, could you come down? I have something to show you. I heard his quiet footsteps descending, saw his eyes still red from crying. My mother started to say something, but I held up my hand. Watch, I said simply. Marcus came downstairs slowly, still holding that cruel fake 5 pounds box. My mother shifted in her chair, probably preparing another lecture about character building. But before she could speak, I led Marcus to our garage. Close your eyes, I said softly. He did, though I could see the hesitation on his face. After this morning's disappointment, he was probably afraid to hope for anything good. I opened our garage storage cabinet, the one with the special lock that only I had the key to. Inside sat what I had been preparing for weeks. Not just a real £5, but an entire gaming setup. A comfortable gaming chair, a new monitor, and a collection of games I knew he'd love. But more importantly, there was something else. Something that would make my mother understand exactly what she had tried to destroy. Open your eyes, sweetheart. The way his face lit up made every secret late-night setup session worth it. But it wasn't just the gaming system that caught his attention. Next to the £5 was a framed photo of Tom, Marcus's dad, playing video games with him when he was little. Below it sat Tom's old gaming collection, carefully preserved. "Dad's games," Marcus whispered, touching the frame gently. "Yes," I said, watching my mother's expression shift from smugness to confusion in the doorway. "Remember how Dad used to say gaming wasn't just about playing? It was about storytelling, problem-solving, and bringing people together." Marcus nodded, his eyes shining. I pulled out an envelope and handed it to him. "Your father wrote this letter before he passed away. I was saving it for the right moment." My mother stepped forward, her designer heels clicking on the garage floor. "Diana, this is ridiculous. You're undermining everything Everything you what, Mom? Everything you tried to destroy this morning?" I kept my voice calm as Marcus read his father's letter. "Dear Marcus, remember that weekend we spent playing through the old Final Fantasy games? You were only 9, but you understood something many adults don't. That stories and games can teach us about life, about perseverance, about facing challenges. Your mom tells me you've been asking for a £5. Keep working hard, buddy. And remember, gaming isn't just about having fun, though that's important too. It's about learning to strategize, to solve puzzles, to work through frustration. Most importantly, it's about sharing joy with the people you love. I love you, son. Never let anyone make you feel bad about the things that bring you happiness. Love, Dad." Your father and I had been saving for your £5 before he passed, I told Marcus, watching him clutch the letter. He wanted you to have it when you were ready, and you've more than proven that you are. My mother's face had turned an interesting shade of red. "You're making this up." Tom was a kindergarten teacher. He couldn't have. "Actually, Mom," I cut in, pulling out another envelope. "Tom left specific instructions. You see, while you were busy judging him for being just a teacher, he was investing wisely. Small amounts, carefully chosen stocks. He wanted to make sure Marcus would have everything he needed." I handed Marcus another envelope. Inside was a bank statement showing the dedicated savings account Tom had set up, not just for the £5, but for Marcus's future gaming and tech interests. "Your dad believed in you," I said softly. "He knew you'd grow up to be responsible, kind, and hardworking, just like you have." Marcus looked at the setup, then at his grandmother, then back at me. Can I try it?" "Of course, honey, it's yours. All of it." As Marcus settled into the gaming chair, carefully setting up his new system, I turned to my mother. Her perfectly maintained facade had cracked, revealing the confusion and anger beneath. "You had no right," she hissed, "teaching him these wasteful habits." I smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Actually, Mom, I have every right. And there's something else you should know." I pulled out my phone again, showing her another video, this one from my home security camera, capturing her switching the real £5 box she had seen in my living room last week with her cruel fake version. That's breaking and entering, Mom, and theft, and child abuse, deliberately causing emotional distress to a minor. Would you like me to continue? She staggered back, her hand flying to her throat. "You wouldn't dare. I'm family. Family doesn't do what you did this morning. Family doesn't try to crush a child's spirit. And family certainly doesn't break into someone's home to replace a real gift with a fake one just to teach a lesson." The sound of happy gaming music filled the garage as Marcus explored his new system. My mother's face twisted into something ugly. "You've ruined him," she spat. "Just like Tom ruined you. I tried so hard to make you understand what really matters in life." "No, Mom," I interrupted. "You tried to make us understand what matters to you. But here's the thing, your values aren't universal truths. And after today, you won't be pushing them on Marcus anymore." The look in my mother's eyes shifted from anger to something else. Fear. For the first time, she realized she had lost control, not just of the situation, but of her carefully maintained power over our family. "What exactly are you saying?" she asked, her voice tight. I walked over to Marcus, who was happily exploring his new 5 pounds, and placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. I'm saying it's time for you to leave, Mom. Not just today, but from our lives. You can't be serious, she scoffed, but her perfectly manicured hands were trembling. I'm his grandmother. You can't keep me from. Actually, I can. Breaking and entering, theft, emotional abuse, I have it all documented. One call to my lawyer, and you'll be facing charges that would shock your precious country club friends. Marcus paused his game, looking up at me with concern. I squeezed his shoulder reassuringly. It's okay, honey. Sometimes standing up to bullies means standing up to family. This is absurd, my mother sputtered. Everything I've done has been for this family. I've only ever wanted control, I finished for her. You've only ever wanted control, over me, over Marcus, over how we live our lives. But that ends today. I pulled out one final envelope from my pocket. This is a restraining order, already prepared. I was hoping I wouldn't need it, that you'd finally see Marcus for the wonderful kid he is. But after this morning's stunt, my mother snatched the envelope, her hands shaking as she read the contents. You planned this, she accused. You set me up. No, Mom, you set yourself up. I just made sure I was ready when you showed your true colors. Marcus stood up, still clutching his father's letter. Grandma, he said quietly, why do you hate me playing games so much? For a moment, something flickered across my mother's face. Regret, perhaps, or recognition of what she was losing. But it quickly hardened into her usual mask of superiority. Games are for children who'll never amount to anything, she snapped. Just like your father. Marcus didn't flinch. Instead, he picked up the fake 5 pounds box she'd given him and held it out to her. Then you should have this back. Dad taught me that gifts should come from love, not spite. I watched my mother's face crumple at being schooled in grace by a 12-year-old. Without another word, she turned and stormed out of the garage, her heels clicking angrily on the concrete. The sound of her car starting and driving away felt like the closing of a chapter. I turned to Marcus, who was looking thoughtfully at his father's letter. You okay, buddy? He nodded slowly. Mom, did Dad really save up for this? He did. I smiled, sitting down in the second gaming chair I'd set up next to his. And you know what else? He left me his old gaming passwords. Want to see your dad's max-level characters? Marcus's eyes lit up. Really? Can we play together? Of course. That's what gaming is all about, remember? Bringing people together. As we settled in to play, I heard my phone buzz with angry text messages from my mother. I silenced it without looking. She had lost the right to demand our attention or shape our lives. Later that evening, as Marcus was getting ready for bed, he paused in the doorway. Mom, thanks for standing up to Grandma, and thanks for understanding about the gaming. I hugged him tight, breathing in the scent of this Star Wars shampoo. Your dad would be so proud of who you're becoming. And not because of grades or achievements, but because of your heart. That night, I finally deleted all the evidence I gathered against my mother. I wouldn't need it anymore. We were free to play games, free to wear Star Wars shirts, free to be ourselves without apology. As I passed Marcus's room, I heard the soft sounds of his new 5 pounds and smiled. Tom had been right. Sometimes the most important lessons in life come through play, through joy, through being true to yourself despite what others demand. My mother still sends occasional messages through flying monkeys, family friends who try to guilt me into reconciliation. But I stand firm. Some people don't deserve second chances to hurt the ones we love. Marcus is thriving now, balancing his gaming with school, still volunteering at the animal shelter, and even starting a gaming club for other kids. Every time I see him light up while sharing his passion with others, I think of Tom and know we made the right choice. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about living well, protecting joy, and teaching our children that they deserve to be loved exactly as they are. The broken 5 pounds box sits in our garage now, a reminder that the most valuable gifts aren't the ones wrapped in pretty paper, but the ones that come with the courage to stand up for what's right, even against family.